Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Posi-TIPS with Rachelle. Last time I kicked off the series by highlighting the importance of taking responsibility for your life and happiness, particularly as it relates to people pleasing. If you're stressed out, overworked, overcommitted, miserable, unhappy, it's not someone else's fault, it's your fault. And it's going to take proactive steps to turn the situation around, regardless of what the situation is or situations are in your life. You've got to take positive steps towards change, but it truly starts with you. And folks, this time I wanted to move this conversation forward by highlighting the importance of recognizing, and this is actually a lesson that I learned crystal clear from Dr. Phil on TV. I'm a big Dr. Phil fan. But as I look back and I think about all the different life lessons that I've learned from some wonderful people that have crossed paths with me, he is an example of someone that has touched my life through or vis-a-vis the television screen. And so folks, it's this one right here. For those of you, if you watched him long enough, you've heard him say this. We teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to treat us. So when you think about it, whether we're talking about the workplace, friendships, relationships, stranger interactions on the street, whatever the case may be, wherever the case may be, we teach people how to treat us. What we deep down, again, another Dr. Phil lesson, our personal truth is deep down, is what the results that we get in life, the results that we generate in life are a direct reflection of what we believe we deserve. So if you're in situations where people are mistreating you, people are using you, people are abusing you, once again, you've got to take responsibility for that too as well. You can't put 100% of the blame on the other person. You bear some responsibility, because when it comes to turning things around and moving things in a positive direction forward, it's going to take you taking those steps, not always necessarily someone else or some other people to turn the situation around for you in your life. And so folks, we teach people how to treat us. Again, this can be acquaintances, strangers, friendships, relationships, the workplace. We let people know by our actions, particularly our reactions to mistreatment, to negativity, to abuse, how we respond to that determines how the results, or how the trajectory of the relationship, whatever type it is, will go moving forward. You know, there's that old saying, and I've heard it a gazillion times, and I'm sure you have as well, but it's be careful how you begin a relationship, because you're setting the tone of how things are going to go moving forward down the road. So if somebody's been using you, somebody's first interaction with you, they were a taker. They showed you they're a taker. They have zero interest in giving back to you. And then 10 years later, you're disgruntled, you're mad, because that person has used you for the last 10 years. Once again, that's not just their fault. You bear a lot of responsibility for accepting those negative behaviors and that negative type of treatment. And so we've got to have the self-esteem, we've got to have the self-worth and the self-confidence to know that we deserve better than to allow ourselves to not be treated well. It is truly that simple. It is truly that simple. So when someone mistreats you, someone curses at you, when someone abuses you in some way, when someone intimidates or bullies you, how you respond to that, or if even you respond to that. You know, some people don't like conflict, don't like confrontation, or afraid, or easily intimidated, and they'll just continue to deal with that type of negative behavior for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and years in some cases. All right, but so it's so important to determine how you are going to respond in that situation. Okay, if you recognize you got some negative patterns, some negative relational patterns in your life, and you're like, man, this something's got to change. I'm miserable, I'm unhappy. You know, my friends and family and other people around me are hearing me complain about this situation endlessly, and for their benefit, I've got to turn this situation around, because no one wants to hear negativity all the time. No one wants to be a garbage dump. All right, so it's time for you, as we all have to learn to do, to recalibrate that relationship. You know, perhaps you've been in a situation where you've been depending upon someone, so you're just afraid to rock the boat. We're going to talk about rocking the boat in the final episode in this series. And so, but you've got to recognize, hey, you know what? I can't complain about how I'm being mistreated in this situation, because I've allowed it. And this person has learned through my reactions, or lack thereof, how to treat me, what I'm willing to accept, what I'm willing to tolerate in my life. And so that's got to change, folks. If this is something where you're dealing with a lot of negative situations in your life, and you're just people mistreating you in various types and forms, it's your fault. I mean, you've got to take responsibility. You've got to take responsibility. But then recalibrate the relationship, recognize. I don't care if you're in a situation where the power dynamic is this person is up here, like it's a boss situation and you're an employee. Yes, you got to be respectful. Yes, you got to be tactful. Yes, your livelihood may be at stake, but also your self-respect is at stake. Allowing a manager or a boss or supervisor, whomever, director, anybody, to berate you in front of other people and talk down to you and belittle you or sexually harass you or curse you out. I mean, there's so many different type of negative abusive behaviors that occur even in the workplace. All right, but you gotta love, you gotta know, and you gotta just let that person know that that's just not acceptable. But I would argue, one thing we need to do is shut that stuff down pretty quickly once it happens, because again, you may be dealing with something 3 years later. Okay, it's hard because again, the patterns and dynamics, relational patterns, have already been well established. So when the changes start to happen, that other person's going to get upset. It's going to be a very rocky road to improvement. Whereas the first time that boss belittles you, or the first time your husband, wife, or significant other curses you out, I mean, you gotta shut that stuff down right away. Because the longer it goes on, the greater the likelihood it's going to continue. Behavior tolerated increases. So we've got to learn to be proactive, but also just assertive and shut stuff down. And so, folks, this is a quick episode, but I just wanted to highlight the importance and the influence that Dr. Phil has had on my own life, and recognizing I've been the one to complain, and this person this, and this person that, and this person's always just called me when they need something, and this person always wants to talk me to death on the phone for an hour about his or her problems. Unacceptable. So I've had to do a lot of recalibrating in my own life, and it's something I continuously do. And just mentally, is this a good situation? Am I happy in this situation? Is this situation healthy? Is this situation working out? Is there something I need to change? Do I need to sever this interaction in this situation, this relationship? Whatever the case may be, I'm very proactive. So we're going to talk more about that next time, but folks, just recognize we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to treat us. No longer moving forward, don't accept the unacceptable. It's as simple as that. So I thank you so much for your time. Make it a wonderful day.